All right, this is going to be a closer, deeper dive look into the passing off claim. It's alleged by Dr. Wright against BTC Core and BSV versus BTC and the name passing off of the name Bitcoin. But actually, we're going to dive. I want to dive deep into the story where it all comes from first, because there was back in the 1950s a group of wineries got together and they were disappointed, feeling like they were getting cheated out of other entities selling their wine and using their reputation known as Spanish champagne. So it was some 8 or 12 different wineries came together and they formed an action. And the action was actually called Bollinger versus Costa Brava Wine Company. And it was brought into court, and the court made a ruling on a motion to dismiss here. And so the other side, the Costa Brava Wine, they believe that there was no claim for passing off because of the fact that Bollinger, okay, they didn't own the rights to this Spanish champagne brand. Now, this is important here. So let me go ahead and share my screen and the findings. All right, so for those who want to read it, you can find it on academia.edu right here. All right, and there's the original PDF from 1960. Now, let me just go ahead and write up give you guys a summary. So background facts, the 12 French companies produced wine in the Champagne district, and they sued. They represented themselves and other champagne producers supplying to England and Wales. The defendant, Costa Brava Wine Company, selling Spanish champagne. Plaintiffs claim Champagne had a reputation for sparkling wine from Champagne, France. The arguments. Plaintiffs' Spanish champagne constitutes passing off. This is the claim by the claimants. No exclusive right to champagne needed for making the claim. The champagne, part of their goodwill. Merchandise Marks Act created a statutory duty breached by defendant. Now, the defendants, they claimed passing off requires confusion with specific plaintiff goods. Exclusive right to the name needed for a passing off claim. The Merchandise Marks Acts don't create civil cause for competitors. So let's just summarize that here. Like, we got these guys are saying that Spanish champagne constitutes passing off because that's what they're selling. And that's passing off because there's no exclusive right for the name champagne because it's part of their goodwill that they're utilizing in marketing their product. So the court's ruling, and then defendants claim there is no, it requires confusion to have the goodwill, to specify with plaintiff's goodwill, and the exclusive right in the name needed for passing off claims. So the Merchant Marks Act don't create civil cause for competitors. All right, so now the court's ruling on passing off. The court found that there was a quasi passing off action possible without exclusive rights. Law should remedy unfair use of geographical names with goodwill. The ruling based on assumed facts for deciding legal points. So it says there's no separate civil action for a cause of action for competitors, and the acts provide criminal penalties for maintaining protection for consumers. So here was the outcome. The passing off claim was allowed to proceed. The Merchandise Marks Act was dismissed, the statutory claim, so that was out. But there was no decision on whether the Spanish champagne actually was deceptive. Leave to appeal was granted. So the case was allowed to go forward on the quasi passing off action. So quasi passing off action. So why is that even relevant here? Well, think about it. We got this case right now where Dr. Wright, he does not own the rights to Bitcoin. He's not Satoshi Nakamoto. I mean, the court's found that. So he has no rights to the name Bitcoin. He has no rights to the ownership of it. And what the court found in this particular case is that these guys, they don't necessarily need the right. They don't need to own the rights to the Champagne district because they've invested in their brand into it and put forth the good faith in it. And so there's a quasi, it's called quasi passing off claim that was allowed. The quasi passing off claim, an action without exclusive rights. So that is the background of the law here that it looks like that Dr. Wright's bringing it under. Now, the reason I found that is because he put this on his X account. Under English law, I can pursue passing off claim against BTC developers through what is known as a champagne passing off action. This type of passing off is named after cases like Bollinger versus Costa Brava, where the use of the term champagne for sparkling wine was contested because it misrepresented the origin and characteristics associated with the authentic Champagne region. A champagne passing off claim is focused on protecting the reputation and distinguishing features of a product and brand when another party misrepresents those characteristics, thereby misleading the public and causing economic harm for the brand. So a lot more details go into this case, of course, but the most important part is there any ground, like, is there any legal precedent? Is there any grounds to bring a case like this? So now we see there is. This is the 1960 decision on the Champagne case, the Spanish Champagne case, which this court already is decided upon, that this group can bring a passing off claim. They don't need the ownership rights. It's quasi. They call it quasi. They made the finding on that. So that is it's basically a lane. How would I say it? It's a lane establishing a right to action, private right of action in a way. It establishes a private right of action. I would say, now a claimant could bring a claim under that authority there, if it meets the same facts and the same law. Now, whether or not that's going to be for the court to decide whether or not this does for Dr. Wright, but it definitely opens up a lane. It opens up a lane to bring an action like this. So I have a lot more questions about about this. I did do a deep dive on this claim here today, and so I'm not going to go into it right now, so it's going to be too long of a video. But I will say a couple of other things that are relevant here, and that's the let's see. Oh yeah, I think it's important to note that when you go back and look back at the other case, the Copa v. Wright case, remember those were combined cases. They combined all these other cases together. And so I never got to read the passing off claim in there. But from what I can tell, it was against Coinbase and Kraken and these others. And I did find the response by Kraken to that case. So they've got a reply here from November of 2022 where they responded, they disputed. Now, this is completely different set of facts, because in this case, they were alleging, Dr. Wright was alleging to be the creator of the Bitcoin system. Well, that's not the case. The court found he wasn't. So therefore, in order for this to be relevant, obviously it had to be a brand new case, unless that goes back on appeal. But apparently Dr. Wright's not waiting for that. He's bringing it now. So this is their response, and I'll have to talk about this later, but another time. But it's Kraken did file a response to this claim. Here, let me pull it up. Yeah, so here it is right here. The Payward Ventures claim. It was a consolidated defense from all these other defendants, and what they argued here in defense is that, well, first of all, they denied the Satoshi stuff. We know that's already been ruled on, but they argue that the original BTC is the original cryptocurrency created in 2009, and it's distinguished between BTC, BCH, and BSV. And they deny that the term Bitcoin refers to BSV. Now they say that they admit using Bitcoin to refer to BTC and Bitcoin Cash to refer to BCH on their platform. They argue that the usage in this line is with the common understanding of the cryptocurrency community. So it's the crowd believes that that's Bitcoin. They deny passing off, and they deny that Dr. Wright had any goodwill, or his company had any goodwill in the Bitcoin system. And they argue that Bitcoin, being a decentralized cryptocurrency, cannot attract goodwill. Now, they dispute the defining characteristics of Bitcoin claimed by Dr. Wright, and they argue that Bitcoin system has evolved over time through various what they call forks. Now they also say that as a defense that Dr. Wright, if he ever had a right, he waived it through acquiescence through the use of Bitcoin for BTC and BCH by not objecting earlier. So it's an affirmative defense and basically a general denial of it. But it'd be interesting to see these guys in a debate. Boy, I'd love to reach out to these guys and see if they would come forward and do a debate with Dr. Wright over this, because they're probably going to be in this case against. They'll probably be in this case again. I think. Let's see, who was the attorney? This lady right here, Sarah Mountain, November 28th. Huh. So I don't know who's qualified to represent them. This is an old case, but it'd be great to have somebody come forward, reach out to me, whoever's volunteering that wants to make their defense right now and say, hey, Dr. Wright is wrong. BTC does follow the white paper. BTC is Bitcoin as defined, and Dr. Wright has no standing to bring this case. So let's get him forward and have a debate. And we want to hear what. And then because Dr. Wright has now made the public allegation that he wants to debate somebody, and hey, I challenge him. I challenge him to host it right here, on this channel on X. Make it huge. Let's do it. So yeah, in summary, the passing off case, this is the Champagne case. I just wanted to kind of break it down as to the grounds that it looks like that he's coming under. And I hope that I can do a good job to try to remain neutral, because there's nothing more than I hate to try to read or try to interpret something that's totally slanted, and I hope I'm not coming off that way. If I am, feel free to tell me in the comments. But it's like, so, an example is like, I try to read an article about Bitcoin or about Craig Wright, and it's so slanted that it's just like, I can't even see the facts, and so it's hard to even read. It almost hurts the brain. All right. So I hope that I can provide like some commentary on this without saying, oh, Dr. Wright's my hero, or Dr. Wright's a good guy or a bad guy. I really don't, like, that's for the court to decide, but I can at least see the lane that he's trying to come into. Okay. He's trying to come into this lane that's opened up by this well-established law there in the UK, dude. All right. So hit the like, hit the ones, hit the freaking subscribe button. And this is definitely a big, some serious case coming forward right now. And whether it gets out of the motion to dismiss phase as to what's coming up next, looks like the update are they serve the defendants today, I think, or yesterday, potentially. So by the end of the month, we might hear something. They're definitely going to try to get the case thrown out. It's going to be a war to get this case thrown out. That's for sure. That's going to be the first thing. So whether or not Dr. Wright can handle the practice of law is going to be a high standard. I hope he's getting some good legal advice from some serious attorneys and counsel over there, because if he's got any chance, because the practice of this stuff is super hard, I would imagine, out there. I sure as heck wouldn't want to do it. I wouldn't even know where to begin, like how to even learn their practice formats. They don't just say, oh, here's how you do it. No, they want you to go to all those years of law school and all that to learn all that for a reason, because they don't just show you, here's how you do it. Just follow this manual. It's not that easy. Okay. There's called experience, all these things. So hopefully he's getting legal advice on that. It's not going to come from me. None of this should be considered legal advice or financial advice. We're just giving some commentary for entertainment purposes only. Let's see if we can get a debate going, and leave a comment below. Tell me what you think. All right. Is this case going to go forward 911 billion pounds, or is it going to get thrown out? What do you think about that last video I had with Binary, his commentary about how Craig actually lost the last case on purpose? That was pretty freaking savage for him to throw that out there, and his ideas and strategy behind him losing the Satoshi case so that he could bring this case. This case came out pretty fast. The funny thing is about it, it has some errors in the writing for it. I thought that was interesting. Not that it's interesting, but Dr. Wright's really not known for making a lot of errors in his writing. And this is it's got some errors, just a couple, but just thought that shows me that it was a little rushed. That's what it tells me. Could have been rushed. So, all right, that being said, hit the likes, ones, and I'll see you at the top. This is Gavin.